everyone, my name is RedRup. You're listening to the It's Not a Phase podcast, and on this episode I am joined by RedHook vocalist Emmy Mack. We talk all about their brand new debut album, Postcard from a Living Hell, the meaning behind the album's title, collaborating with the likes of Yours Truly and The Fame, staying independent, returning to Download Festival later this year, and loads more. Now, if you enjoyed this or any other episode of the podcast and you want to show your support, there's a few ways that you can do that. Number one, leave a rating and review wherever you're listening to this. It takes just a few seconds and it really does help. Number two, share this on your social media, whether that be Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. Or number three, if you want to go the extra mile, you can pay a little bit each month to join the Patreon, and in return you'll get access to episodes early along with some other perks, or you can pick up some merch from the store. All the links to that and the podcast socials where you can follow us can be found at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. And now with all that out of the way, let's jump right into this week's episode of It's Not a Phase. What's up everybody? Thank you for joining me on this episode of It's Not a Phase, where I'm joined by Emmy Mack of RedHook. How are you doing?
Woo! Thanks for having me, Zach. Yeah, I'm look, it's chaotic, but things are good. Feeling lots of love today. The debut album's just dropped in Australia. I don't know. I think that we've got like a time difference. So I'm not sure if it's Friday where you are yet, but
it is Friday. Yeah, it's 5 minutes to 9 a.m. Yeah, 8:55. So it's here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Happy Friday.
Yeah, I mean that must be crazy in itself, right? That I guess you see it on social media as well, like different like influxes of like fans saying like they listen to the album because of the different time zones.
Yeah, totally. And we always get like the all the playlist ads, like all the, you know, you're finding out it's always that nervous wait throughout the day. It's like, okay, it's midnight, just struck midnight in the UK. It's just midnight in the US. Like,
yeah,
you know, just like the nervous wait to see like if the song's going to flop or not.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen. So
yeah. Okay, good. Good to know.
So, I mean, like, speaking about the debut album, Postcard from a Living Hell, how does it feel to finally have it out there? Because I imagine you've been sitting on this material for a little while now.
Well, like, honestly, the turnaround has been so quick. I mean, it always is with us. Like, we finished recording this album in like at the end of last year. Okay. So it's in terms of like we move real fast. So which is good. Like, I mean, I'm not sick of the songs yet.
That's a good start.
Which is yeah, so that's a good start. I'm really excited to play them live. But yeah, like it's still been wild. Like I feel like there's so much pressure on the debut album release, and we weren't sure if it was the right time or not for us to drop one. But I mean, we had, you know, enough fans who really, really wanted it. So at the end of the day, if they're stoked and they're happy that we're doing this, then yeah, so are we. And it's a relief. It's exciting and nerve-wracking, and I've been shitting myself all week. But now that it's out there, it is definitely like a whew.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the pressure's off and it's out there in the universe, and whatever will be, will be.
Yeah. So I guess, you know, there's like this playlist culture of, you know, people push singles or EPs because it's kind of shorter and people's attention spans are worse than ever. But I guess with an album, it's like an album makes such a statement, especially a debut.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I kind of forgot that because I am one of those people with a very short attention span. And like, honestly, like, I mean, probably going to get judged so badly on this, but I mean, I do not listen to albums unless it's a band that I just absolutely froth my socks on. Like, it's very rare that I will sit down and listen to an album from front to back. So to do one ourselves was like, I definitely had mixed feelings about it. But again, it's not fair. Like, I didn't do this for me. This is for all the people who wanted RedHook to do an album. So I hope they dig it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the album's not got any filler or anything. It sounds like every song on there could be a single, which I guess is also a good problem to have, because I guess it kind of must have been difficult for you to pick out which.
It was especially the last song, like especially like the really like we actually, so one of my favorite songs that we recorded during the album sessions isn't actually on the album,
right?
Because we left it off. And that was a hard choice to make, but it was because we already had all the singles sorted and knew what we were going to release as singles. So we went in there to just like sort of write songs to fill up the album, and then accidentally wrote like the biggest banger of them all. And I didn't want to like sort of, flood people with too many singles. I feel like we're already kind of pushing our luck to as much as we can with that, because like, all but 4 songs on this record have been released as singles.
Yeah.
So yeah, made the decision to hold it off. But yeah, but it's cool because it means that, we're dropping the album, but then there's something that I'm just as excited about, in the pipeline that will hopefully come out later this year. Yeah, just keep feeding that machine, man. Just
You've got to in this age, haven't you? Because like I say, people's attention spans are short, so you just got to keep pumping out content.
Literally, but then it's a delicate balance because you don't want people to get sick of you either. So that's we're trying to find that equilibrium between like, being prolific and constantly releasing, but then also not releasing too much, or like so much that people are like, fuck off, RedHook. I'm so sick of your shit.
So, I mean, you went with Stevie Knight to produce it. So I think he's produced pretty much all of your stuff now. Is that right?
Yeah. So actually, so he's the only songs on the record that he didn't produce were Say and Low Budget Horror. And they're the only songs in our whole catalogue that he hasn't produced. And they were produced by Craig, our boy Kreggles, on the guitar, who is, we're very, very lucky to have Craig. He's a very, very talented producer in his own right. And he, like Stevie, was like his Yoda. His Mr. Miyagi. So he went to the Stevie Knight school of of producing. That's so yeah, and he smashed it with those 2 songs. So in a way, even though Craig produced it, I mean, it's still like Stevie is still pretty much like the silent kind of 5th member of this band.
Yeah.
He's a big fan. He's one of my yeah. Well, I mean, Stevie's like one of my best friends in the whole world. And, he's like, this band probably wouldn't exist if it wasn't for him a few years ago, giving me a big pep talk and telling me not to give up and to keep going. And he's a very, very dear friend. And I don't think RedHook would be here if it wasn't for him.
Yeah. And look where you are now.
Yeah, dude. It's wild. Hey, debut album. Can't believe it.
Yeah. Like I say, like it's a statement. And I think it's kind of like a pinnacle moment that all bands want to reach, and a lot don't, but here you are. Yeah,
or some people reach it too soon. They like shoot their load too early before like they have enough people who sort of, it's sound brutal, but enough people who care that they're even doing an album. So I hope that people care that we've released one. It feels like they do, which is nice.
So why did you land on Postcard from a Living Hell as the album title? Do you think that kind of encompasses what the overall vibe and message of the album is?
Yeah, totally. I think it's kind of like dystopian album. Like it deals with like a lot of really heavy subject matter, like sexual assault, depression, intrusive thoughts of self-harm. But I guess like the reason why I love Postcard from a Living Hell as the album title is because, I mean, it sort of comes back to my relationship with music and how important it has been to me and my life, especially, and I feel like it's a thing especially for people who listen to sort of heavier kind of music. It's such a part of who we are, and we form such a connection with the songs and the artists that we love. And in all the darkest times of my life, I guess, music has always been there to sort of get me through, and songs that kind of speak to what I'm going through. And yeah, kind of like that light in the darkness sort of vibe. And that's kind of what I hope this album will be. And coming back to the album title, it's kind of like when you think of a postcard, right? It's, something that you send when you're visiting a place. You're there, you're visiting. So I guess like the message that I hope people take away from Postcard from a Living Hell, even though, I've vomited like all of these like traumatic experiences and feelings onto this record, is kind of like the message that, when your life feels like a living hell, it's temporary.
Yeah.
And, it's something, it's a time and a place, but it's not forever. And so like, it's a postcard. And like, to me, like with this record, it's kind of like almost like my postcard from the living hell to myself. It's kind of like all that stuff that I went through and that I've now processed and come out of, you know, it's like a physical kind of like stamp of that time and those experiences and those emotions. But and I'm not there anymore, you know, like and a lot of those lyrics I don't relate to anymore, which is like cool. It's cool to like not feel that way, not be the person that wrote those. I mean, that was a very, very sort of ranty way of explaining it, but I hope that made sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's good that you don't relate to those lyrics so much anymore, because like you say, there's so many like dark themes that you talk about there, and like personal experience and stuff, which, you know, it's very brave as well to kind of talk about them and put them into songs that you know that for X amount of years you're going to be playing them live over and over again.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but it's also really beautiful. Like it sort of changes the way I think about. Yeah, I mean, like that process of turning the shit into something positive. Like people ask me sometimes if it's hard to perform, like especially songs like Jabberwocky and stuff. But you know, it's like it was at first because I was so terrified before this song came out. But now it just feels really powerful, man. Like it feels, I look forward to singing Jabberwocky every night when we're on tour, because it's just, I feel like I slayed the demon. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it reminds me that I've like conquered that shit, and that feels good. It feels really definitely good.
Yeah, and you're just kind of like reclaiming the power of that situation, because you've come out of it and look where you are now, killing shit.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, man. Oh, that's nice to hear. I don't always feel that way, but it's nice to hear that. But yeah, it's great. Like it's really, in I guess kind of like a selfish way, like it's really it's been really healing for me, and really like it's really, really positive. Like I it's why I write music. Like
and I'm thinking about, because you kind of write in metaphors, like obviously with Jabberwocky. And I guess even though, because you're writing metaphors, some people who don't know the story behind the song or any songs on that album might not know exactly what the song's about. They can take the metaphors and kind of put it into their own situations, and that can help them get through whatever the hell they're going through at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that too. That's one of the main reasons I like writing in metaphors as well, is, you know, because I feel like the meaning behind this, like these songs all mean something to me. But if somebody can listen to that song and take a different meaning out of it that means something to them, then that is just as valid. And I love that. Like I love that. Yeah, like I think a lot of people, there's a song on the album called The Critic, which a lot of people think is like have taken that as like a fuck you to like all the musical gatekeepers. And right. I'm like, oh damn, I mean, valid. Like I wrote it about the little voice in my head that tells me I'm a piece of shit. But like, you know, again, like I love that about the metaphorical lyrics, because the meaning can be very elastic and change depending on who's listening.
So when did the writing of the album begin? You know, you say you know, kind of the turnaround was quite quick. Did you begin with the idea and intention of writing an album, or did it just kind of become that way when you started to put together all these songs and they kind of just had a kind of collective umbrella that they sat under?
Yeah. It was more just like we wanted to do an album, but like last year was so crazy with our touring schedule. Like I think the last 6 months of last year we were basically on tour like nonstop, but we really wanted to do it. So we were just snatching all these tiny windows of time to be, and like it was pretty crazy. Like we'd be, you know, flying back, like, you know, be like playing interstate show, fly to another state, play a show, fly to another state, play a show, fly back home, go straight into the studio. So it was pretty crazy. But yeah, like we wanted to do an album, and the challenge was just like getting the songs, getting our shit together in time, with like rationing the time that we had to sort of get it out.
You've released it independently as well, which I guess presents its own like difficulties and hurdles, along with you kind of, like you just mentioned, finding time where you can from your busy touring schedule to actually make the album.
Yeah, 100%. Like being independent comes with a great many challenges, but I'm so stoked that we're, you know, like it feels like a bit of a roll of the dice, like releasing our debut album independently. But like, you know, I feel like we've built ourselves up enough. Like I just feel like we can do it. Like we wanted to do it. We wanted to challenge ourselves and see what we could achieve, because that's our goal. Like we want to stay independent for as long as we can, because it's, you know, we're seeing the results. Like we're we've been able to build ourselves to this point by just staying DIY and just sticking to our guns. And yeah, like, I mean, like having the reach of a label, I'm sure would probably help a lot with like, releasing a debut album. But at the same time, is it worth getting into like a fuckload of debt? That's not what I want.
No.
That's not what any of us want. We want to build a career. We want to build a sustainable business, which we've done. And we're already there, and it's continuing to grow. So hopefully, even though it's a slower burn without like the reach of like a big dog label in our corner, we're keen to see what we can achieve with this by ourselves.
Well, I guess it also depends on not only timing, but kind of the right deal. Like if a label does come to you, maybe when it comes to, I don't know, album 2, album 3, something like that, then, it's I guess it's not completely off the table for you, but you'll be in a different situation. You might have a different deal, a different relationship with a label, and then, you can just go with them.
Yeah, totally. Like we're definitely like not closed-minded to the idea like fuck all labels, man. Like we're not. Like we'd love to work with a label, but it's just got to make sense for us. And so far, like, I don't need to tell you that label deals are notoriously, skewed against bands. And also like RedHook are a band that has always, I mean, we haven't been around for very long, but the label conversations that we've had, labels are really confused by us because they don't really know, like they can't really put us into a box. And that, I think that seems to like turn them off. Like they seem to like things that they can be like, this is this, this is this. They look at RedHook and they're like, we don't understand. And now it's just funny because we were having like, before the debut EP came out back in 2021, like we wanted to sign to a label. We were super keen because we were still pretty young and, we, in our heads, we were like, that's the way to get bigger. But yeah, we had that reaction. But now, and then we were like, fuck it. We're just going to do this ourselves. And we've seen so much success from that. Like Bad Decisions is almost like about to hit 10 million streams, which is just fucking mind blowing.
Yeah.
That single, not the album. The album's already like clocked over 10 million, which is insane. Like we've done this all ourselves with a tiny little team. It's wild. And now we've got labels coming knocking and they're offering us, and the deals that they're offering us, we're like, dude, like we're already making too much money like ourselves to even, and I mean, we're not making a lot of money, but we're sustainable. Like we're sustainable and we're not in any fucking debt. So we're like, it doesn't make sense for us to sign this. Like this money that you're offering us, we're going to make that in a year. Like, why would we sign away like 70%, 80% of our masters to you when we can just make that money ourselves? Like and I mean, I know it's like, it's a bit taboo to talk about the like business side of things, but I think it's important. Like, I think more bands need to realize that they can do this themselves. Like, you don't need a label. Like the game is changing, man. The game has changed. So like, if a label does come along and wants to work with us and believes in us and wants to invest in us and it makes sense financially, then fuck yeah. Like, let's do it. But that's yet to happen. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, you say, it's taboo to kind of talk about the business side of things, but, that's something that I kind of talk about on this podcast. Like I speak to people in the industry and stuff, but yeah, you are right. Like nowadays it's become easier and easier for people to be independent. Like they can write and record their own stuff in their own bedrooms. They can become their own like marketer and push out their music to the world because of the internet. So
exactly.
You don't need it. Is it easier to go for a label? I mean, potentially, yeah, but there's pros and cons, and you just got to kind of work out what works for you. And if you want to do it independently, you can. And like you guys are just one of many examples of that.
Yeah, it's rad. It's very inspiring, and it's cool. Like, yeah, I love seeing other DIY bands kicking goals. It makes me very happy.
Yeah,
it's very, I know it's cliche, but it's just like, like the underdog vibes. Like I love rooting for the underdog.
Yeah, definitely. Well, speaking of one of the singles on the album, Imposter, you've got Michaela on there from Yours Truly. And is it right that, I know you guys have been like friends for a while, but is it right that when you were recording the Bad Decisions EP, they were recording their album at the same time in the same studio? Is that right?
They were, yeah. Shout out Lecky's son, RIP. That studio doesn't exist anymore. But so we've been mates with Yours Truly for ages, and we did our first ever tour of Australia with them, and also the Fame, who are also feature on the Postcard album. And yeah, like Craig actually sort of he was assistant engineer on some of the songs off Self Care. So there was a lot of, and then like the YT guys, like Michaela and Lockie both did gang vocals on our song Bad Decisions.
Okay.
Just because they were there and we were hanging out and having like handball tournaments in the parking lot and stuff. So yeah, we love those guys. There was a friendship there, but like working on Imposter with Michaela, like we went from being like just, you know, friendly, just like mates, like, you know, say hi and maybe have a bit of a chat whenever we'd see each other around, to being like a very, very strong friendship. Like I adore that woman to death. Like she is amazing. And yeah, it was so cool and so beautiful to have that kind of bonding experience and get a kick-ass song out of it that I love.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of returns back to what you were saying earlier. Like you've turned, because you know you kind of bonded over that song over having a similar shitty experience, but you've kind of turned that shitty experience and turned it into something positive and pushed out this song.
Literally, like it's weird. It's like it almost makes it worth it when something like this happens. Because like that whole experience was crazy, because I didn't know that Michaela was going through something real similar to me when I gave her the song. I just thought that she'd sound fucking kick-ass on it, which she did. But like the fact that she understood it and she got it, and so she was able to, like, you know, she added lyrics and stuff to like really make it her own and put her stamp on it as well. So it's really like a message from both of us, the song that we ended up with. And, you know, and now we just have this like amazing, wonderful friendship that has come out of that as well. It's just like, it's so cool. It's like, it's almost surreal. Like, yeah. And the song means so much more to me because of it.
And it's good that, you know, like I say, you kind of bonded over that poor experience and made something, you know, great out of it. And, you know, I see, you know, that song is great. Like it's a banger.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Like it's one of my faves. I love it so much. It's probably, if not my favorite, then equal favorite on the album.
And you got a cool video to go with it as well. So.
Oh yeah. Shout out Colin Jeffs. That was so much fun to make. I love that video.
And, you know, on the subject of features, you know, you mentioned you've got The Fame on there as well, and you've got Sly Withers on another song. How did they all kind of like come together? Why did you pick those artists to collaborate with?
Yeah. Well, again, so for The Fame, we love those boys. We've toured with them in Australia. We've toured with them in the UK and Europe. And like Josh just has such an incredible voice. Like he's such an amazing talent. And I just felt like Inarticulate, this was missing something. And I just thought that his voice would just sound incredible on that song, and I was right. It just, the first time, like I like every time I listen to his parts on that song, like it gives me goosebumps. He absolutely smashed it. And getting Sly Withers involved for Soju was a bit of a different situation. We didn't actually know those guys, but they're like they're like probably one of the biggest bands in Australia right now. Like but they're a very different vibe. They're kind of a little bit outside of the heavy space. Like they're very sort of indie, like very earnest indie rock, singer-songwriter vibes. And their stuff is awesome. And we just thought it'd be cool to do something a little bit different and a little bit unexpected and get them on like the big pop punk song on the album, because it's something that they've never done. It's something that people wouldn't really expect us to do here in Australia. And yeah, we just wanted to surprise people. I think we like to surprise people whenever it makes sense and whenever we can. And yeah, and I love the results. Like Jono's voice over a pop punk song, it just worked, and it just like gave it so much more character. And yeah, so stoked. All the collabs that we have on this album made the songs better.
I think it's good, like, because I think in recent years it's become more accepted and less taboo, but for some reason, for so many years, I don't know why, but in like rock, punk, heavy music, it seemed like it was a bad thing to collaborate, and I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's so weird. Yeah, I don't get that either. It's so bizarre. I think, like, I will say, like, you can definitely tell sometimes when a collab has just occurred for kind of like the sake of it rather than doing a service to the song, which is why, like, I'm really stoked. Because, like, for me, it's the way that we work when we sort of like get the song ready for a feature is I'll write the part and like sort of give it, and then lay in like a demo vocal and sort of then give it to the person and be like, well, this is how, like, you can just sing it like this, or you can sort of add your own flair to it and like change the lyrics, like do whatever you want. And yeah, I'm just so stoked that like, yeah, all three songs, even though I was like, oh, I'm really attached to like my demo vocals. Like I like that part. I like those lyrics. I don't want it to be like, and then, you know, they just came and blew me away. And I was like, thank fuck we got them on that song because it's so much better now.
Yeah, I guess it's sometimes hard to relinquish that control because you become attached to your part in it, like you just said.
Oh yeah, and you get massive demo-itis as well. Your ears are just used to hearing it that way. So when you hear something different, it's like, oh no, I wasn't expecting that. But that didn't happen on any of these songs. It was just like listening to all of them for the first time. I was just like, fuck to the yes, this is so good.
Away from, you know, your time in RedHook, you know, you've got personal experience in, you know, as a presenter and a journalist yourself. Do you feel like dabbling in that side of the industry kind of gives some benefits to you and how you approach things in the band?
Like yes and no. It's funny. It's a funny sort of line to walk. You'd think it would make me being in like interviewing bands would make me a better interviewee, but I don't think it has. But I guess kind of from the PR side of things, like being a writer and like knowing how to write about music, I think that helps a lot, you know, with trying to get the message about the music out there. And, you know, I sort of write all the press releases. But then also the downside of that is because I'm so attached and I'm not like objective, I usually just like, I try and say way too much. And then our publicists have to come in and be like, Emmy, we need to like chop this down. You're like, it's way too long. Yeah. You got to trim the fat, man. It's way too long. You need to like be more succinct. I'm like, yeah, fair. All right. You fix it. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's been cool. Like I think it's one of the downsides of that though is like it definitely was not helpful for my imposter syndrome as an artist.
Right.
Because I was interviewing bands and doing that just because I wanted to be close to music. And I never thought that I'd really make something of myself as a musician. So I was like, well, I still want to be around music. So I'll just be a journalist. And because I'm a writer and stuff. So, and yeah, so I felt like a lot of people in the heavy music community here in Australia knew me more as a journalist than as a musician. So there was definitely like an extra element of pressure and imposter syndrome that came with like having to prove myself as an artist in my own right. But I think people now associate me more with RedHook than with, you know, / music journalist. It's like RedHook / music journalist, not like music journalist / wannabe singer in a band.
It's like RedHook's the full-time job, but you moonlight as a journalist.
Oh boy, it sure is the fucking full-time job. But yeah, no, I at least I hope so.
Yeah. You know, speaking of the band, you know, you've got an Australian tour next month, I think, throughout May.
Yeah, all throughout May. Very excited.
And then you've got a UK tour. Well, you've got a few dates in the UK and Europe with Stan Atlantic, I think, in June.
We do. We're announcing a little something else tonight at 10 p.m. Australian time, which is only a couple of hours. I could probably tell you because this is probably not going to go out. You won't. Yeah, dude, we're playing Download Festival again. I'm so excited.
Really? Awesome.
Yeah, we're playing out on the Friday, I think. So that's getting announced tonight. So so excited. Last time we played Download, we were so green. We were so new. We'd only released like 3 songs, I think, when we played the festival for the first time. So to be able to come back and have like the debut album out, I'm so excited. It's gonna be so rad.
Yeah, I think it was 2019, wasn't it, when you guys were there?
2019. Yeah. We were just like little noobs. We were just a baby band. We hadn't done anything, and we probably sucked. So it's gonna be like nice to come back and not suck.
Well, I saw your set and I didn't think you sucked.
Did you?
Yeah, but I imagine you'll be much better now because, you know.
Oh yeah, I hope so. I mean, there'll be something wrong if we're not better.
Yeah, and I'll be there this year as well. So hopefully,
I'll see. As well, so we can have beers.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. So what else have you got planned this year other than those tours and you say Download Festival as well?
Yeah. So that'll take us up to June. Look, we've still got again like more music that we'll probably release later this year. We got a collab coming out with a Australian producer who's based in LA. Called Phase One. He's super sick. Like he does like all these, it's like heavy dubstep. We've been huge fans of his for ages. So he hit us up to collab and we've freaked the fuck out and we're like, hell yes. So we've got a song with him coming out like pretty soon after the album, actually.
Okay.
And then another single that didn't make it onto the album that I'm really, really excited to release, hopefully later this year. So yeah, just as much touring and music as we can.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really stop.
No rest for the wicked.
No rest for the bloody wicked, man.
Yeah.
Sleep when you're dead.
Well, thanks very much for your time, Emmy. I really appreciate it. Best of luck with this album rollout. I'm sure it's going to go fantastic, and I'm sure this is just like the surface of what all these achievements that you're going to get from the release. Before I let you go and enjoy the rest of your day and celebrate putting out the album, have you got any final words? Anything you want to say? Anything you want to plug?
Oh man, we'll just hopefully we'll be coming back to the UK and Europe as much as we can. And if you're around in June, if you're going to download, come check out the set, come hang out, say good day. And we'd love if you listen to the album and let us know what you think. If you love it, if you hate it, it's all good. It's all valuable feedback. We love it. And yeah, thank you for listening.
Thanks very much, Emmy. I'll let you go. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I'll catch you at Download Fest.
Legend, Zach. That's sick. Yeah, hit us up and we'd love to catch up. That'd be awesome.
Cool. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
And that is it. Thank you so much for listening. Again, if you enjoyed this or any other episode of the podcast, then please leave a rating and review wherever you're listening to this. If you want to support the podcast further, you can go and give it a follow on social media, pick up something from the merch store, or subscribe to the Patreon to get early access to episodes. All the links can be found at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. Thanks again, hopefully catch you on the next one, and remember, it's not a phase, it's a lifestyle.